The Whispers of Kyoto, a bedtime journey through ancient Kyoto. Chapter 1. Arrival in the capital. You find yourself standing at the edge of a gentle hill, overlooking the vast expanse of Kyoto, the capital of the rising sun. The year is somewhere in the tender embrace of the 10th century, and the world moves with the rhythm of seasons, unhurried, eternal. The city spreads before you like a silk scroll unfurling in the morning light. Each building, each garden, each pathway seems to breathe with quiet purpose. The streets follow the ancient Chinese grid pattern, straight lines softened by time and weather, creating a harmony between human design and natural flow. You can see the imperial palace in the distance, its vermilion pillars catching the last golden rays of afternoon sun, while purple shadows begin to pool in the valleys between the hills. As you begin your descent toward the city, your feet find a path worn smooth by countless pilgrims, merchants, and court ladies who have walked this way before you. The stones beneath your sandals are cool and slightly damp from the morning dew that still clings to the grass. Each step brings you closer to the heart of this ancient world, where poetry and beauty reign supreme, where the changing of seasons is celebrated with reverence, and where silence holds as much meaning as words. Cherry blossoms drift down around you like snow in spring, though it is not yet the season of sakura. These are the memory blossoms, the ones that exist in the eternal spring of this place. They float on invisible currents of air, some landing softly on your shoulders, others dancing just out of reach. Their pale pink petals catch the light like fragments of dawn, and you pause to watch them fall, feeling time slow to match their gentle descent. The air carries the scent of incense from distant temples, mixed with the green fragrance of bamboo and the sweet perfume of plum blossoms. You breathe deeply, letting these ancient aromas fill your lungs, and with each breath, you feel yourself settling deeper into this world of tranquil beauty. Your modern concerns begin to fade like mist in the morning sun, replaced by a sense of timeless peace. As you continue down the path, you notice the way the light filters through the canopy of maple and cedar trees, creating shifting patterns of gold and green on the ground before you. The leaves whisper secrets in a language older than words, and you find yourself walking more slowly, more deliberately, matching your pace to the gentle rhythm of this sacred place. The path curves gently to the left, following the natural contour of the hillside, and suddenly you can see the city more clearly. The rooftops are a symphony of curves and angles, traditional tile work that has weathered countless seasons. The buildings seem to grow from the earth itself, their wooden frames and paper walls creating a harmony between interior and exterior space, between human habitation and the natural world. You pass beneath a wooden torii gate, its pillars worn smooth by centuries of weather. The gate marks a transition, a threshold between the wild hillside and the cultivated beauty of the city. As you walk through its shadow, you feel a subtle shift in the air, as if you are passing not just through space, but through time itself, into a realm where beauty and impermanence dance together in perfect balance. The first houses you encounter are modest but elegant, their gardens visible through gaps in bamboo fencing. Each garden is a small world unto itself, with carefully placed stones, prune trees, and patches of moss that seem to glow with their own inner light. You can hear the soft sound of water flowing over stones, see the gentle movement of koi beneath the surface of ornamental ponds, and feel the presence of generations of gardeners who have tended these spaces with devotion and skill. An elderly man in simple robes tends to a bed of chrysanthemums, his movements deliberate and peaceful. He looks up as you pass, and offers a gentle bow, his eyes holding the quiet wisdom of someone who has learned to find joy in small things. You return his bow, feeling a connection that transcends language, a recognition of shared humanity in this place where time moves like honey. The street widens as you approach the heart of the city, and you begin to see more people going about their daily activities. A woman in layered silk robes of lavender and cream glides past, her sleeves trailing like water, her face painted in the classical style, with blackened teeth and shaved eyebrows. She carries a fan made of painted silk, and as she passes, you catch a glimpse of poetry written in elegant calligraphy on its surface. Two court officials in tall black caps discuss some matter of governance, their voices low and measured. They pause frequently, allowing silence to fill the spaces between their words, as if understanding that what is not said can be as important as what is spoken. Their robes rustle softly as they walk, the sound mixing with the distant chanting from a nearby temple. A group of children play a game with painted shells, their laughter like silver bells in the afternoon air. They are dressed in miniature versions of adult clothing, their movements graceful even in play. One child looks up at you with curious eyes, and you smile, feeling a warmth in your chest at the sight of such innocent joy. As the sun begins to set, lanterns start to appear throughout the city. Paper lanterns painted with delicate images of cranes and bamboo, suspended from the eaves of buildings, hanging in gardens, creating pools of warm light that push back the gathering darkness. The lanterns seem to breathe with the evening breeze, their light dancing like fireflies. You find yourself drawn to a small tea house nestled between two larger buildings. Its entrance is marked by a simple wooden sign with characters brushed in elegant black ink. The building itself is unremarkable, but there is something about its proportions, its relationship to the space around it, that speaks of perfect harmony. Inside, the tea house is warm and inviting. The walls are made of paper screens that glow softly in the lamplight, casting everything in a golden hue. The floor is covered with tatami mats, their woven surface worn smooth by countless visitors. In one corner, a small alcove holds a hanging scroll with a poem about autumn leaves, and beneath it, a single white chrysanthemum in a ceramic vase. The tea master, an elderly woman with kind eyes and careful hands, prepares tea with movements that seem like a dance. Each gesture is precise yet flowing, from the way she measures the tea leaves to the arc of her arm, as she pours hot water from a ceramic pot. The sound of water meeting tea is like a small waterfall, and the steam rises carrying the earthy fragrance of green tea, bitter and sweet, complex in a way that matches the complexity of this ancient world. As you sip, you watch the steam curl upward, creating temporary patterns in the air before dissolving back into invisibility. Through the paper windows, you can see the lights of the city beginning to twinkle like earthbound stars. The transition from day to night happens gradually here, without the harsh boundaries of electric lighting. Instead, there is a gentle fade from gold to blue to purple, with the lanterns providing islands of warmth in the growing darkness. The tea master speaks softly about the changing seasons, about the way the city transforms throughout the year. In spring, she says, The cherry blossoms create a pink canopy over the streets, and people gather for Hanami parties beneath the flowering trees. In summer, the festivals fill the air with music and the scent of grilled food, while cicadas sing their ancient songs in the trees. Autumn brings the maples to flame, covering the city in reds and golds, and winter wraps everything in a blanket of pristine snow. As she speaks, you feel yourself becoming part of this eternal cycle, understanding that you are not just visiting this place, but participating in something larger than yourself, something that connects you to all the people who have walked these streets, drunk tea in this same house, watched the same lanterns sway in the evening breeze. The tea master refills your cup, and you notice how the light has changed outside. The sky has deepened to a rich purple, and the first stars are beginning to appear. The lanterns seem brighter now, more important, as they take on the role of guiding lights in the darkness. You thank the tea master and step back into the street. The night air is cool and carries the scent of night-blooming jasmine. Somewhere in the distance, a temple bell rings once, its deep tone reverberating through the city, reminding everyone of the passing of time, of the precious nature of each moment. As you walk deeper into the city, you notice how different it feels at night. The same streets that were busy with activity during the day have become pathways for quiet contemplation. The lanterns create a soft illumination that reveals just enough to guide your way, while leaving much in shadow, creating an atmosphere of mystery and peace. You pass a small shrine tucked between two buildings, its entrance marked by a pair of stone lions, their expressions serene and protective. Candles flicker in the courtyard, and the air is heavy with the scent of burning incense. A priest in white robes tends to the altar, his movements slow and deliberate, each gesture a prayer in itself. The shrine reminds you that in this world, the spiritual and the everyday are not separate, but woven together like threads in a tapestry. Every act, from the preparation of tea to the arrangement of flowers, can be a form of meditation, a way of connecting with the deeper currents of existence. As you continue your walk, you find yourself on a bridge that crosses a small canal. The water below reflects the lantern light, creating a mirror image of the city that shimmers and dances with each ripple. Fish move slowly beneath the surface, their forms barely visible in the darkness, and you realize that there is an entire world here that exists beyond human perception, a world of quiet depth and hidden beauty. Standing on the bridge, you look back toward the hill where you began your journey. It seems impossibly distant now, as if you have traveled not just through space, but through layers of time. The city spreads around you, in all directions, a living mandala of light and shadow, of human aspiration and natural beauty. A night watchman passes by, carrying a lantern on a long pole. His footsteps echo softly on the wooden bridge, and he nods to you as he passes, his face kind and weathered, marked by years of walking these quiet streets, protecting the sleeping city. He continues on his way, and you watch his lantern light fade into the distance, a moving star in the landscape of the night. The moon has risen now, casting silver light on the curved rooftops and the careful geometries of the gardens. Everything looks different in moonlight, softer, more mysterious, as if the city has put on its evening clothes and is preparing for sleep. You decide to find a place to rest for the night, and as you walk, you notice a small inn tucked away on a side street. Its entrance is marked by a wooden sign with characters that seem to glow in the moonlight. The building itself is traditional, with a tiled roof and paper windows that emit a warm, welcoming light. Inside, the inn is exactly what you hoped for. Tatami mats cover the floors, and the walls are decorated with hanging scrolls featuring calligraphy and ink paintings of mountains and birds. The innkeeper, a middle-aged man with a gentle demeanor, shows you to a small room overlooking a garden. The room is simple but perfect, a sleeping mat spread on the floor, a low wooden table, and a single window that frames a view of the garden like a living painting. In the garden, you can see the silhouettes of carefully pruned trees, the gleam of water in a small pond, and the soft glow of a stone lantern, partially hidden by bamboo. As you settle in for the night, you feel a deep sense of contentment. The city continues its quiet life outside your window, but you have found your place in it, a small refuge where you can rest and reflect on the beauty you have encountered. The sound of distant temple bells marks the passage of time, but here, in this moment, time seems to have slowed to match the gentle rhythm of your breathing. Through the paper walls, you can hear the soft sounds of the inn settling into night. The quiet conversation of other guests, the gentle footsteps of the innkeeper as he tends to his duties, the whisper of wind through the eaves. All of these sounds blend together into a lullaby that speaks of safety and peace. You lie down on the sleeping mat, pulling a silk quilt up to your chin. The fabric is cool and smooth against your skin, and you can smell the faint scent of lavender that has been stored with the bedding. Outside, the night watchman passes by again, his lantern casting moving shadows on the paper windows, and you feel protected, held in the embrace of this ancient city. As sleep begins to claim you, you think about the journey that brought you here, the path down the hill, the tea house, the bridge over the canal. Each moment has been a gift, a small perfect jewel in the necklace of experience, and you know that tomorrow will bring new wonders, new opportunities for quiet discovery in this world where beauty and peace reign supreme. The last thing you hear before sleep takes you is the sound of rain beginning to fall, soft drops against the paper windows, a gentle percussion that seems to bless the sleeping city, and you drift away on the sound, carried into dreams where cherry blossoms fall like snow, and time moves with the rhythm of your heartbeat. Chapter 2: The Temple Path. You awaken to the sound of temple bells, their deep bronze voices calling across the morning mist. The sound seems to come from everywhere and nowhere, reverberating through the paper walls of your room, through your bones, through the very air itself. Each tone hangs in the silence for a long moment before fading, leaving space for the next bell to speak, and the next, creating a conversation between the awakening temples of Kyoto. The rain has stopped, but the world outside your window glistens with moisture. Every leaf, every stone, every blade of grass seems to hold tiny mirrors that catch and scatter the early light. The garden of the inn appears transformed, as if it has been washed clean and renewed overnight. The stone lantern still glows softly, though its light is now gentle and pale against the growing daylight. You dress slowly in the simple robes provided by the inn, feeling the soft fabric against your skin. The colors are muted, earth tones that seem to harmonize with the natural world. As you tie the sash around your waist, you feel yourself becoming part of this ancient rhythm, this way of life that moves with deliberate grace. The innkeeper has prepared a simple breakfast, and you sit at the low table in your room, looking out at the garden while you eat. The food is simple, but perfect. Rice that tastes of the earth it grew in, tea that carries the essence of mountain mist, pickled vegetables that wake your palate with their gentle tang. Each bite is a meditation, a way of connecting with the fundamental act of nourishment. After breakfast, you decide to explore the temple paths that wind through the hills surrounding the city. The innkeeper provides directions with careful gestures, pointing toward the mountains, where wisps of incense smoke rise, like prayers into the morning sky. He speaks of ancient paths worn smooth by pilgrims, of temples hidden in groves of cedar and bamboo, of places where the boundary between the earthly and the sacred becomes thin as silk. You step out into the morning air, feeling the coolness against your face. The streets are already alive with the gentle activity of the day, but it is a different kind of activity than you might expect. There is no hurry here, no sense of urgency. Instead, people move with the measured pace of a walking meditation, each step deliberate, each gesture mindful. A monk in saffron robes passes by, his shaved head catching the light, his eyes focused on something beyond the immediate world. He carries a wooden staff and a small bag, perhaps traveling between temples or going to collect alms from the faithful. His footsteps make no sound on the stone path, as if he moves through the world without disturbing its peace. You follow the path the innkeeper described, leaving the main streets behind and climbing gently into the hills. The buildings become fewer and more scattered, replaced by groves of bamboo that tower overhead like green cathedrals. The bamboo moves in the slightest breeze, creating a soft rustling sound that seems to whisper ancient secrets. The path itself is a work of art. Stones have been placed with infinite care, each one positioned to create the perfect step, the perfect rhythm for walking. Moss grows in the spaces between the stones, soft and green, and slightly luminous in the filtered light. Your feet find their own pace on this path, a pace that matches the breathing of the earth itself. As you climb higher, the city falls away below you, becoming a collection of curved rooftops and garden spaces, threads of smoke rising from cooking fires, the occasional flash of silk as a court lady crosses a courtyard. From this distance, Kyoto looks like an illustration in a painted scroll, beautiful and peaceful, and somehow eternal. The first temple you encounter is small and hidden, nestled in a grove of ancient cedars that must have been growing when the city was first founded. The trees are massive, their trunks scarred by centuries of weather, their branches reaching toward the sky like the arms of great dancers. The temple itself is simple, wooden buildings with curved roofs that seem to echo the shapes of the surrounding mountains. A stone path leads to the main hall, and as you walk along it, you notice the way each element of the temple complex has been positioned to create harmony. The buildings follow the natural contours of the land, the gardens work with the existing landscape, rather than imposing upon it. Even the way the shadows fall seems to have been considered, creating patterns of light and dark that change throughout the day. The main hall is open to the air, its massive pillars supporting a roof that seems to float above the space. Inside, the light is dim and golden, filtered through paper screens and wooden lattice. The altar is simple but profound, a wooden platform holding a bronze Buddha whose face radiates infinite compassion. Candles flicker in the shadows, and the air is heavy with the scent of sandalwood incense. You sit on a wooden bench at the back of the hall, listening to the sounds of the temple. The soft chanting of monks in a distant building, the whisper of wind through the eaves, the subtle creaking of old wood as the building breathes with the changing temperature. These sounds blend together into a symphony of peace, an audio meditation that seems to slow your heartbeat and deepen your breathing. An elderly monk enters the hall, moving with the careful grace of someone who has spent decades learning to walk mindfully. He approaches the altar and places a fresh flower in a ceramic vase, a single white lotus that seems to glow in the candlelight. His movements are so deliberate, so full of reverence, that the simple act of placing a flower becomes a profound prayer. The monk notices you and approaches with a gentle smile. He speaks in a voice like rustling leaves, telling you about the temple's history, how it was founded by a court lady who left the imperial palace to seek enlightenment, how the cedars were planted by her own hands, how the temple has been maintained for centuries by monks who see their work as a form of meditation. He invites you to join the afternoon meditation, and you follow him to a smaller hall where a group of monks sit in perfect stillness. Their breathing is so synchronized that they seem to be one organism, one collective consciousness reaching towards something beyond the individual self. You sit at the back of the room, closing your eyes and allowing yourself to be drawn into their rhythm. The meditation is unlike anything you have experienced. At first, your mind is filled with the usual chatter of thoughts, but gradually, as you focus on your breathing, on the feeling of air entering and leaving your lungs, the thoughts begin to slow, to space themselves further apart, until there are long moments of pure awareness, of being present in the moment, without the need to think about it. When the meditation ends, you feel as if you have been cleansed, as if the accumulated dust of ordinary consciousness has been washed away. The monks file out silently, and you remain sitting for a few more minutes, reluctant to leave this state of profound peace. Eventually, you rise and continue along the temple path, which winds higher into the mountains. The next temple is larger, more elaborate, with multiple buildings connected by covered walkways. The architecture is more complex here, with intricate bracket systems supporting the curved roofs, and decorative elements that catch and play with the light. But despite its greater size, this temple maintains the same sense of harmony with its environment. The buildings seem to grow from the mountainside, their foundations disappearing into the natural stone, their roofs echoing the curves of the hills. Gardens have been carved into the slope, creating terrace spaces where different plants bloom in sequence throughout the year. You spend the afternoon exploring this temple complex, discovering hidden courtyards where water flows over carved stones, meditation gardens where raked gravel creates patterns like frozen waves, libraries where ancient texts are preserved in wooden cases, scriptoriums where monks copy sutras with brushes made from the finest animal hair. In one of the gardens, you find a small pavilion overlooking the valley. Its roof is supported by slender wooden pillars, and paper screens can be slid open to frame different views of the landscape. Inside, the floor is covered with tatami mats, and low tables hold writing materials, inkstones and brushes and sheets of handmade paper. You sit in the pavilion as the afternoon light begins to fade, watching the shadows lengthen across the valley. The city below is already beginning to twinkle with the first lanterns of evening, and you can see the smoke from cooking fires rising into the sky. From this height, the human world seems small and peaceful, part of a larger pattern that includes the mountains and the sky and the changing light. A young monk brings you tea, serving it in a simple ceramic bowl that fits perfectly in your hands. The tea is hot and slightly bitter, with an earthy flavor that seems to connect you to the soil where the tea plants grew, to the hands that picked the leaves, to the generations of monks who have drunk similar tea while watching the sun set over this same valley. As darkness falls, you begin your descent back toward the city. The path is lit by stone lanterns, placed at regular intervals, their soft light just enough to guide your way. The bamboo groves are alive with the sound of wind, and somewhere in the distance, you can hear the evening chanting from the temples you visited earlier. The walk down the mountain is a meditation in itself. Each step brings you back toward the human world, but you carry with you the peace you found in the temples, the sense of connection to something larger than yourself. The city lights grow brighter as you approach, but they no longer seem urgent or demanding. Instead, they appear welcoming, like old friends waiting for your return. You pause at the same bridge where you stood the night before, looking down at the water that reflects the city lights. The canal seems deeper now, more mysterious, as if it holds secrets that can only be glimpsed in the shifting patterns of reflected light. A few lake boats pass underneath, their lanterns creating trails of gold on the dark water. The inn welcomes you back with warm light and the scent of evening incense. The innkeeper asks about your day without intruding, and you find yourself describing the temples in words that seem inadequate to capture their beauty, their sense of timeless peace. But he nods with understanding, as if he knows that some experiences can only be felt, not described. In your room, you prepare for sleep with the same deliberate care that you have observed throughout this day. Each action, from changing your clothes to arranging your sleeping mat, becomes a small ritual, a way of honoring the transition from waking to sleeping, from activity to rest. The night sounds of the city are different now, filtered through your experience of the temple path. The distant chanting seems closer, more meaningful. The sound of wind through the eaves reminds you of the bamboo groves. The soft footsteps of late walkers echo the measured pace of the pilgrims who have worn the mountain paths smooth. As you lie down to sleep, you can still feel the presence of the temples on the mountain, their lights glowing like stars in the darkness, their bells marking the passage of time with bronze voices that seem to speak directly to your heart. The peace you found there settles around you like a silk quilt, warm and protective and infinitely gentle. You close your eyes and listen to the rain that has begun to fall again, soft drops against the paper windows, a gentle percussion that seems to bless the sleeping city. And as you drift toward sleep, you carry with you the memory of stone paths and cedar groves, of candlelit halls and meditation gardens, of moments when the boundary between yourself and the larger world became as thin as morning mist. The last thing you hear before sleep takes you is the sound of a temple bell, distant and clear, calling across the night like a voice from another world. And you know that tomorrow will bring new paths to explore, new temples to discover, new opportunities to find peace in this ancient city where every stone, every tree, every moment of silence holds the possibility of awakening. Chapter 3: The Garden of Stillness. You wake to the sound of water, not the rain of the previous nights, but the gentle splash of koi moving through a pond, the soft trickle of a stream flowing over carefully placed stones. The morning light filtering through your window is different today, greener, as if it has been colored by passing through countless leaves. Rising from your sleeping mat, you discover that during the night, someone has left a small gift outside your door, a single camellia flower in a ceramic vase, its petals the color of dawn, still holding drops of dew that catch the morning light like tiny jewels. The flower seems to glow with its own inner light, a reminder that beauty can appear anywhere, at any time, without announcement or fanfare. You dress slowly, feeling the silk of your robes against your skin. The fabric has absorbed the scent of the incense from the temples, and now carries it with you like a blessing. As you tie the sash around your waist, you notice how the simple act of dressing has become a meditation, each movement deliberate and mindful. The innkeeper greets you with a knowing smile, as if he understands that you have been changed by your journey to the temples. He speaks of a garden, hidden in the heart of the city, where the art of landscape has been perfected over centuries, where every stone, every plant, every view has been considered and reconsidered until it achieves a perfection that seems effortless. The garden, he explains, belongs to a retired court official who has spent his life studying the way water moves through space, the way light falls on different surfaces throughout the day, the way the seasons transform the same space into completely different worlds. The garden is not open to casual visitors, but the innkeeper knows the caretaker, and arrangements can be made for those who approach with the proper reverence. After a breakfast of rice and tea, you follow the innkeeper's directions through the winding streets of the city. The morning is alive with gentle activity, vendors setting up their stalls, children playing games with painted stones, court ladies being carried in elegant palanquins, their silk sleeves trailing like water. But today you move through this world with a different quality of attention, noticing details that might have escaped you before. The way shadows fall across a doorway, creating patterns that shift and change as the sun moves across the sky. The sound of wind chimes hanging from the eaves of a tea house, their metal tongues singing in harmonies that seem to celebrate the morning breeze. The scent of jasmine from a hidden garden, mixing with the smoke from cooking fires to create an atmosphere that is both earthly and ethereal. You find the garden's entrance exactly where the innkeeper said it would be. A small wooden gate set into a wall of bamboo. The gate is so understated that you might have walked past it without noticing, but there is something about its proportions, its relationship to the bamboo, that marks it as the work of a master craftsman. The caretaker is waiting for you, an elderly man, whose face has been weathered by decades of working in the sun, but whose eyes hold the clear light of someone who has found deep satisfaction in his work. He bows deeply, and you return the bow, feeling the weight of the moment, the privilege of being welcomed into this sacred space. The gate opens onto a path of stepping stones, each one placed with infinite care to create the perfect rhythm for walking. The stones are worn smooth by centuries of feet, and moss has grown in the spaces between them, creating a carpet of green that seems to glow in the filtered light. As you walk along the path, you feel your pace naturally slowing, matching the deliberate rhythm that the stones suggest. The first view of the garden takes your breath away, not because of its size or grandeur, but because of its absolute perfection. Every element seems to be in exactly the right place. The positioning of a single stone, the curve of a branch, the way the light falls on the surface of a pond, all of it working together to create a harmony that feels both inevitable and miraculous. The garden is built around a central pond, its surface so still that it creates a perfect mirror of the sky. Koi moves slowly through the water, their movements creating gentle ripples that spread outward in perfect circles. The fish are ancient, some of them older than the current emperor, their scales catching the light like pieces of living jewelry. You sit on a stone bench placed at the perfect viewing angle, and the caretaker explains the garden's principles, how it was designed to capture the essence of the 4 seasons, how different areas bloom and fade throughout the year, creating an ever-changing display of natural beauty, how the placement of each stone, each plant, each pathway was considered for its aesthetic impact, its symbolic meaning, its contribution to the overall harmony of the space. In spring, he says, the cherry trees that line the pond burst into bloom, their petals falling like snow onto the water, creating a carpet of pink and white that transforms the entire garden into a scene from a classical painting. The azaleas follow, painting the hillsides in shades of pink and purple, while the wisteria drapes itself over the wooden bridges like silk curtains. Summer brings the lotus flowers, their pure white petals rising from the mud at the bottom of the pond, a reminder that beauty can emerge from the most unlikely places. The lotus blooms in the early morning, when the air is cool and the light is soft, and by afternoon they have closed again, making each bloom a precious and temporary gift. Autumn is the season of maples, when the trees around the pond burst into flame, their leaves creating a canopy of red and gold that reflects in the still water. The garden becomes a world of fire and mirror, earth and sky blending together in a display of breathtaking beauty. This is the season when the garden receives its most visitors, when court ladies come to write poetry beneath the colored leaves. Winter brings a different kind of beauty, the stark elegance of bare branches against the sky, the way snow transforms the familiar landscape to something mysterious and new. The evergreens become more prominent, their dark green providing a steady presence against the white, and the garden takes on a quality of profound stillness, as if it has settled into meditation. But today, in this eternal moment between seasons, the garden holds all of these possibilities. You can see the cherry trees waiting for spring, the lotus pads floating on the surface of the pond, the maples whose leaves are just beginning to hint at their autumn glory, the pines that will stand sentinel through the winter, all of it existing simultaneously in this perfect present moment. The caretaker leads you along the winding paths, pointing out features that might escape a casual observer. The way a particular stone has been positioned to catch the morning light, how a bridge has been placed to create the perfect viewing angle for the moon's reflection, the careful pruning of a tree to frame a distant view of the mountains. You spend the morning exploring the garden's hidden corners, discovering small shrines tucked into groves of bamboo, stone lanterns that will glow softly in the evening, wooden platforms that extend over the water, creating the illusion of walking on the surface of the pond. Each discovery feels like a gift, a secret revealed to those who take the time to look carefully. In one secluded corner, you find a tea house built on stilts over the water, its paper walls glowing softly in the filtered light. The caretaker explains that this is where the garden's owner comes to practice the tea ceremony, where the principles of harmony and respect are embodied in the simple act of preparing and serving tea. The tea house is perfectly positioned to catch the afternoon light, and as you sit inside, you understand why the owner chose this spot. The view encompasses the entire garden, from the central pond to the distant mountains, but it is framed by the wooden pillars and paper screens in a way that makes it seem like a living painting, constantly changing as the light shifts and the seasons progress. The caretaker brings tea, preparing it with the same careful attention that has been lavished on every aspect of the garden. The tea bowl is simple but perfect, its rough ceramic surface warm against your hands. The tea itself is the color of jade, with a flavor that seems to capture the essence of the garden, the taste of clean water and mountain air, and the subtle sweetness of flowering plants. As you drink, you watch the koi moving slowly through the water, their presence adding a sense of life and movement to the perfect stillness of the pond. The fish seem to understand their role in the garden's composition, moving in patterns that create ripples without disturbing the overall sense of peace. Their scales catch the light like scattered coins, creating points of brilliance that dance across the surface of the water. The afternoon light begins to change, becoming more golden, more horizontal, and you watch as the garden transforms before your eyes. Shadows lengthen and shift, revealing new compositions, new relationships between the elements. The same stones that appeared solid and permanent in the morning light now seem to float, to dance, to participate in the garden's eternal conversation between permanence and change. A gentle breeze stirs the surface of the pond, and you watch as the reflection of the sky breaks apart and reforms, creating patterns that exist for only a moment before dissolving back into stillness. The sight is hypnotic, meditative, and you find yourself entering a state of deep calm, your breathing synchronized with the gentle movement of the water. The caretaker speaks softly about the garden's history, how it has been tended by generations of gardeners, each one adding their own understanding to the overall design, how the garden is both ancient and constantly new, changing with the seasons and the years, but always maintaining its essential character. He speaks of the garden as a living entity, something that breathes and grows and responds to the care it receives. As the sun begins to set, the garden takes on a different quality. The light becomes softer, more mysterious, and the shadows deepen into pools of purple and blue. The first fireflies begin to appear, their lights blinking like tiny stars in the growing darkness. The garden seems to settle into evening with a sigh of contentment. You realize that you have spent the entire day in this one place, and yet you feel as if you have traveled through multiple worlds, from the bright clarity of morning to the golden peace of afternoon to the mysterious beauty of evening. The garden has been your guide through the passage of time, showing you how each moment contains its own perfect beauty. The caretaker lights the stone lanterns as darkness falls, and the garden is transformed once again. The lanterns create pools of warm light that seem to float in the darkness. Each lantern has been positioned to illuminate a particular feature, a flowering bush, a carved stone, a section of the path, creating a constellation of gentle lights that guide the eye through the garden's nighttime composition. The pond becomes a mirror for the lanterns, doubling their light and creating the illusion of stars floating on the water's surface. The koi continue their slow dance, their movements now traced by the ripples they create in the reflected light. The entire garden seems to breathe with the gentle rhythm of the evening breeze. You sit in the tea house as the last light fades from the sky, feeling a profound sense of gratitude for this day of perfect beauty. The garden has taught you something about the nature of time, about the way each moment contains infinite possibilities, about the art of paying attention to the subtle changes that make each experience unique. The caretaker speaks of the garden's night sounds, the gentle splash of water over stones, the whisper of wind through bamboo, the soft calls of night birds settling into their roosts. These sounds blend together into a symphony of peace, an audio landscape that matches the visual harmony of the garden itself. As you prepare to leave, the caretaker presents you with a small gift, a smooth stone from the garden's central pond, worn smooth by countless years of water and weather. He explains that the stone carries the essence of the garden, that holding it will help you remember this day of perfect stillness, this moment of connection with the eternal rhythms of nature. You walk slowly back through the city, the stone warm in your hand. The streets are quiet now, lit by the soft glow of paper lanterns. The garden has changed you, has taught you to see the world with different eyes, to notice the beauty that exists in every moment, waiting to be discovered by those who take the time to look. Back at the inn, you place the stone on the small table in your room, next to the camellia flower that greeted you this morning. The two objects seem to complement each other, the stone representing the eternal, the flower representing the fleeting. Together they capture the essence of what you experienced in the garden, the perfect balance between permanence and change. As you prepare for sleep, you can still feel the peace of the garden flowing through you. The memory of the still pond, the gentle movement of the koi, the perfect placement of each stone and plant, all of it continues to work its magic, calming your mind and preparing your spirit for the deep rest that comes after a day of perfect beauty. You lie down on your sleeping mat, pulling the silk quilt up to your chin, and close your eyes. But even in the darkness, you can see the garden, the way the light moved across the water, the way the shadows shifted and changed, the way each moment revealed new layers of beauty. The garden has become part of you, a source of peace that you can access whenever you need to remember what true stillness feels like. The night sounds of the city seem softer now, more musical, as if the garden has taught you to hear the underlying harmony in all things. The distant chanting from the temples, the gentle rain beginning to fall, the soft footsteps of the night watchman, all of it blends together into a lullaby that speaks of beauty and peace, and the eternal cycles of nature. And as sleep begins to claim you, you feel yourself floating on the still surface of the pond, surrounded by the gentle light of stone lanterns, watched over by ancient koi who have learned the secret of moving through the world without disturbing its peace. The garden cradles you in its perfect stillness, and you drift away into dreams where every moment is a lotus flower blooming in the eternal spring of consciousness. Chapter 4: Ink and Incense. You wake to the sound of a brush moving across paper, the soft whisper of bristles loaded with ink creating characters that seem to breathe with their own life. The sound comes from somewhere nearby, perhaps the courtyard of the inn, or a neighboring building, but it carries clearly through the still morning air, a rhythm as natural as breathing, as meditative as prayer. The morning light filtering through your window has a different quality today, softer, more diffused, as if it has been filtered through screens of silk. You rise from your sleeping mat and discover that the camellia flower from yesterday has opened fully, its petals now spread wide to reveal the golden center, the flower seeming to glow with its own inner light. The stone from the garden sits beside the flower, smooth and dark, and somehow alive with memory. You pick it up and feel its weight in your palm, remembering the perfect stillness of the pond, the gentle movement of the koi, the way the light danced on the water surface. The stone seems to pulse with the rhythm of the garden, connecting you to that place of perfect peace. You dress in robes of deep blue silk, the color of twilight sky, and make your way to the main room of the inn, where the innkeeper has prepared your morning meal. But today, there is something different. An elderly man sits at a low table in the corner, his long sleeves trailing as he moves a brush across a sheet of handmade paper. His movements are so fluid, so graceful, that watching him becomes a meditation in itself. The innkeeper explains in whispered tones that this is Master Yukimura, a renowned calligrapher and poet who has served at the imperial court. He is retired from public life to focus on his art, spending his days in contemplation of the way words can capture the essence of fleeting moments, the way ink on paper can preserve the beauty of a single instant for all eternity. Master Yukimura looks up from his work and smiles, his eyes bright with the joy of someone who has found his true calling. He invites you to sit nearby, and as you settle onto a cushion, you can see the poem he has been working on, characters that seem to dance across the page, each one perfectly formed yet somehow alive with movement and energy. The poem speaks of autumn leaves falling into a stream, of the way beauty and impermanence dance together in the natural world, of how the observer becomes part of what is observed, until there is no separation between the watcher and the watched, between the poet and the poem, between the moment and its expression in art. Master Yukimura speaks of his craft with quiet passion, explaining how calligraphy is not simply the act of writing characters, but a way of embodying the meaning of words through the movement of the brush, the flow of ink, the rhythm of breathing. Each character, he says, should be a complete expression of the writer's state of mind, a window into the soul of the moment. He demonstrates by writing a single character, the symbol for peace, and you watch as his entire body participates in the creation, his breathing synchronized with the movement of the brush, his posture reflecting the calm inner state that the character represents. The finished symbol seems to radiate tranquility, as if it has captured not just the concept of peace, but the actual experience of it. Master Yukimura invites you to try, providing you with a brush and inkstone, showing you how to grind the ink stick with water to create the perfect consistency, how to hold the brush so that it becomes an extension of your hand, your arm, your entire being. The preparation itself becomes a meditation, a way of centering yourself before attempting to capture meaning in visible form. Your first attempts are clumsy, the characters shaky and uncertain, but Master Yukimura encourages you to continue, explaining that the imperfections are part of the beauty, that each person's hand creates its own unique expression, that the goal is not technical perfection, but authentic expression of the inner state. As you practice, you begin to understand what he means. The brush seems to respond to your breathing, to your state of mind, to the quality of attention you bring to the task. When you are tense, the lines are rigid. When you are relaxed, they flow like water. When you are present, the characters seem to write themselves. After an hour of practice, Master Yukimura suggests a visit to his private retreat, a small building tucked away in the mountains, where he goes to write when inspiration strikes. The innkeeper packs a simple lunch, and the three of you set out along a path that winds through groves of bamboo and cedar, climbing steadily into the hills that surround the city. The retreat is perfect in its simplicity, a single room with paper walls that can be opened to frame different views of the surrounding landscape. The floor is covered with tatami mats, and the only furniture is a low writing desk positioned to catch the morning light. Shelves along one wall hold scrolls and books, inkstones and brushes, all the tools of the calligrapher's art. But what captures your attention most is the way the space seems to breathe with creativity. The walls are decorated with samples of Master Yukimura's work, poems about the changing seasons, characters that seem to dance with their own inner music, paintings that combine calligraphy with images of birds and flowers and flowing water. Master Yukimura explains that he comes here when he needs to escape the distractions of the city, when he wants to focus completely on the relationship between his inner state and his artistic expression. The retreat is positioned to catch the best light throughout the day, and the views from each window provide inspiration for different moods and seasons. He shows you his collection of inkstones, each one carved from a different type of stone, each one producing a slightly different quality of ink. Some create lines that are deep and rich, others produce more delicate, ethereal effects. The choice of inkstone, he explains, is part of the artistic process, a way of matching the medium to the message. The brushes are equally varied, some made from the hair of wolves, others from rabbits or cats or even human hair. Each type of brush creates its own unique line quality, its own expressive possibilities. Master Yukimura demonstrates, showing how the same character can be completely transformed by the choice of brush, the consistency of ink, the speed of execution. As the morning progresses, you settle into the rhythm of the retreat. Master Yukimura works on a long poem about the temple bells you heard on your first night in the city, his brush moving across the paper with the confidence of decades of practice. You continue your own practice, gradually becoming more comfortable with the tools, more attuned to the relationship between your inner state and the marks you make on paper. The lunch is simple but perfect: rice balls wrapped in seaweed, tea that tastes of mountain springs, pickled vegetables that cleanse the palate. You eat in companionable silence, looking out at the view of the city spread below, the curved rooftops and garden spaces creating a harmonious pattern that seems to embody the principles of good composition. After lunch, Master Yukimura brings out a collection of his finest work, scrolls that have been preserved for decades, poems and paintings that capture moments of perfect beauty, fleeting encounters with the divine that have been preserved in ink and paper. He unrolls each scroll with reverence, explaining the circumstances of its creation, the state of mind that produced it, the technical challenges involved. One scroll particularly captures your attention, a poem about cherry blossoms, written in silver ink on dark paper, the characters seeming to glow like moonlight on water. Master Yukimura explains that he wrote it during a night viewing of the cherry blossoms, when the moon was full and the petals seemed to float like snow in the darkness. The poem captures not just the visual beauty of the scene, but the emotional resonance, the sense of connection to something larger than oneself. Another scroll shows a single character, the symbol for emptiness, written with such skill that it seems to embody the concept it represents. The character has weight and presence, yet there is something about it that suggests infinite space, boundless possibility, the void from which all things emerge, and to which they return. As the afternoon progresses, Master Yukimura begins work on a new piece, a poem inspired by your visit to the Garden of Stillness. He asks you to describe your experience, and as you speak, he translates your words into characters that seem to capture the essence of what you felt, the perfect balance of the stone placement, the gentle movement of the koi, the way the light changed throughout the day. Watching him work is like watching a master musician perform, every movement precise yet flowing, every decision made with the confidence of deep knowledge and years of practice. The poem emerges on the paper like a living thing, each character related to the others, in a complex dance of meaning and visual harmony. The scent of incense drifts through the open windows, sandalwood and cedar mixing with the mountain air. Master Yukimura explains that he burns incense while working, using the fragrance to enhance his concentration, to create an atmosphere conducive to artistic creation. Different scents, he says, inspire different types of work: jasmine for love poems, pine for landscapes, sandalwood for spiritual contemplation. He lights a stick of plum blossom incense, and immediately the room fills with a sweet, delicate fragrance that seems to enhance the beauty of everything around it. The smoke rises in gentle spirals, creating temporary patterns in the air before dissolving back into invisibility, like the cherry blossoms in his poem, beautiful in their impermanence. As evening approaches, Master Yukimura completes the poem about the garden, and you watch as he adds the final touches, a seal pressed in red ink that serves as his signature, a small drawing of a koi fish that seems to swim up from the bottom of the page. The finished work is a masterpiece, a perfect fusion of visual beauty and literary meaning. He presents the poem to you as a gift, explaining that it belongs to you because it emerged from your experience, your words, your connection to the garden's beauty. He rolls it carefully in a silk wrapper, and you accept it with deep gratitude, knowing that you are holding something precious, a moment of perfect beauty preserved for all time. The walk back to the city is a meditation in itself, the path lit by paper lanterns that seem to float in the darkness. Master Yukimura speaks of the relationship between art and spiritual practice, how the act of creating beauty can be a form of prayer, a way of connecting with the divine principle that underlies all existence. He explains that in his youth, he thought art was about expressing himself, about putting his own emotions and ideas onto paper. But over the years, he has learned that true art is about getting out of the way, allowing the deeper currents of existence to flow through him, becoming a conduit for beauty rather than its source. This, he says, is why the tea ceremony and flower arrangement and calligraphy are all considered spiritual practices. They teach us to pay attention, to be present in the moment, to find the sacred in the ordinary, to recognize that every act, when performed with complete attention, can become a form of worship. Back at the inn, you carefully place the scroll in your room, next to the stone from the garden and the camellia flower. The three objects seem to represent different aspects of your journey: the stone for permanence, the flower for impermanence, the scroll for the human attempt to capture and preserve beauty. As you prepare for sleep, you can still smell the faint fragrance of incense on your clothes, still feel the weight of the brush in your hand, still see the graceful movements of Master Yukimura, as he created beauty from ink and paper. The day has shown you another way of being present, another approach to finding meaning in the simple activities of daily life. You lie down on your sleeping mat, the silk quilt cool against your skin, and close your eyes. But even in the darkness, you can see the characters dancing across the page, feel the rhythm of the brush moving in harmony with your breathing, smell the sweet fragrance of incense that transforms ordinary air into something sacred. The night sounds of the city seem different now, more like poetry, the rhythm of footsteps on stone paths, the whisper of wind through paper walls, the distant chanting of monks, all of it blending together into a composition that speaks of beauty and meaning and the eternal human desire to capture the ineffable intangible form. And as sleep begins to claim you, you feel yourself floating on a sea of ink, surrounded by characters that glow with their own inner light, guided by the gentle fragrance of incense that carries you deeper into the realm of dreams, where every breath is a brushstroke, every heartbeat a character written in the language of the soul. Chapter 5: The Pavilion of Dreams. You wake to the sound of rain, not the gentle drops of previous mornings, but a steady, rhythmic percussion that seems to drum against the paper walls of your room with ancient fingers. The sound is hypnotic, meditative, transforming the inn into a sanctuary of sound and shelter. The rain has been falling 4 hours, judging by the depth of its rhythm, creating a cocoon of white noise that wraps around you like silk. The light filtering through your window is soft and grey, the color of pearl, giving everything in your room a dreamlike quality. The camellia flower has begun to fade, its petals now translucent and delicate, ready to fall at the slightest touch. The stone from the garden sits beside it, dark and permanent, a reminder of the eternal amid the transient. The scroll from Master Yukimura rests in its silk wrapper, holding within it the captured essence of yesterday's beauty. You dress slowly, feeling the weight of the rain-soaked air, the humidity that makes the silk of your robes cling softly to your skin. There is something about rainy days that invites contemplation, that draws the mind inward, that makes the boundary between waking and dreaming seem thin as morning mist. The innkeeper greets you with warm tea and a knowing smile, explaining that on days like this, when the rain falls steadily from morning to night, it is traditional to visit the Pavilion of Dreams, a place where the boundary between the physical and spiritual worlds becomes permeable, where the steady rhythm of rain on paper walls creates a natural meditation that can carry the soul to realms beyond ordinary consciousness. The pavilion, he explains, was built by a court lady who experienced prophetic dreams, visions of the future that came to her in the hours between sleeping and waking. She designed the structure to enhance this liminal state, to create a space where the conscious and unconscious minds could meet and merge, where the dreamer could become the dream. After a breakfast of rice and tea, you set out through the rain-soaked streets, your wooden umbrella providing shelter, while allowing you to hear the full symphony of the storm. The rain has transformed the city into something magical, the usual colors muted and softened, the air filled with the scent of wet earth and flowering plants, the stone paths glistening like rivers of light. The pavilion is located in a secluded garden on the outskirts of the city, accessible only by a narrow path that winds through groves of bamboo and stands of pine. The rain has made the path more challenging, but also more beautiful, every leaf and branch adorned with droplets that catch what little light filters through the clouds. As you approach the pavilion, you understand immediately why it was chosen for this purpose. The structure seems to float above the ground, supported by wooden pillars that lift it just high enough to create the sensation of being suspended between earth and sky. The roof is designed to amplify the sound of rain, creating a resonant chamber that turns the storm into music. The pavilion is octagonal in shape, with paper walls that can be opened or closed depending on the weather and the desired degree of enclosure. Today, with the rain falling steadily, the walls are closed, creating an intimate space filled with the gentle grey light that filters through the translucent paper. The floor is covered with the finest tatami mats, their woven surface soft underfoot, inviting you to sit or lie down as the spirit moves you. The interior is furnished with only the essentials: a low table for tea, silk cushions for sitting, and a raised platform covered with the softest silk quilts, designed for those who wish to rest and dream. The walls are decorated with paintings of clouds and mist, images that seem to move and shift in the changing light, adding to the dreamlike quality of the space. An elderly woman tends to the pavilion, her movements as fluid as water, her voice as soft as the rain itself. She explains that she has been the guardian of this place for 30 years, learning its rhythms, understanding how the quality of light and sound affects the consciousness of those who come here to dream. She speaks of the pavilion as a living entity, something that breathes and changes with the weather, the seasons, the needs of those who seek its shelter. She prepares tea with movements that seem choreographed, each gesture flowing into the next without pause or hesitation. The tea is unlike any you have tasted, a blend of herbs and flowers that seems to open pathways in the mind, to dissolve the boundaries between inner and outer experience. As you sip, you feel a gentle loosening, a softening of the edges of consciousness. The guardian explains the traditions of the pavilion, how visitors are encouraged to let go of their ordinary concerns, to allow the sound of rain and the gentle light to carry them into deeper states of awareness. Some come seeking guidance. Others simply wish to experience the peace that comes from complete surrender to the present moment. She shows you the Dream Journal, a collection of silk-bound books where visitors have recorded their experiences, dreams of flying over the city, of conversations with ancient spirits, of journeys to realms where time moves differently, of encounters with aspects of themselves they never knew existed. The writings are in various hands, some elegant calligraphy, others quick sketches, all attempting to capture experiences that exist beyond the reach of ordinary language. You settle onto the silk cushions, feeling the weight of the rain-soaked air, the hypnotic rhythm of water against paper. The sound seems to pulse with your heartbeat, to synchronize with your breathing, creating a natural biofeedback loop that draws you deeper into relaxation. Your eyelids grow heavy, not with ordinary sleepiness, but with a different kind of drowsiness, the kind that comes from complete surrender to the moment. The guardian dims the lanterns, leaving only the soft grey light that filters through the paper walls. She speaks in whispers about the art of conscious dreaming, about learning to observe the mind as it moves between different states of awareness, about the wisdom that can be found in the spaces between thoughts, between sleeping and waking, between self and not self. The way shadows fall across a doorway, creating patterns that shift and change as the sun moves across the sky. The sound of wind chimes hanging from the eaves of a tea house, their metal tongues singing in harmonies that seem to celebrate the morning breeze. The scent of jasmine from a hidden garden, mixing with the smoke from cooking fires to create an atmosphere that is both earthly and ethereal. You find the garden's entrance exactly where the innkeeper said it would be. A small wooden gate set into a wall of bamboo. The gate is so understated that you might have walked past it without noticing, but there is something about its proportions, its relationship to the bamboo, that marks it as the work of a master craftsman. The caretaker is waiting for you, an elderly man whose face has been weathered by decades of working in the sun, but whose eyes hold the clear light of someone who has found deep satisfaction in his work. He bows deeply, and you return the bow, feeling the weight of the moment, the privilege of being welcomed into this sacred space. The gate opens onto a path of stepping stones, each one placed with infinite care to create the perfect rhythm for walking. The stones are worn smooth by centuries of feet, and moss has grown in the spaces between them, creating a carpet of green that seems to glow in the filtered light. As you walk along the path, you feel your pace naturally slowing, matching the deliberate rhythm that the stones suggest. The first view of the garden takes your breath away, not because of its size or grandeur, but because of its absolute perfection. Every element seems to be in exactly the right place, the positioning of a single stone, the curve of a branch, the way the light falls on the surface of a pond, all of it working together to create a harmony that feels both inevitable and miraculous. The garden is built around a central pond, its surface so still that it creates a perfect mirror of the sky. Koi move slowly through the water, their movements creating gentle ripples that spread outward in perfect circles. The fish are ancient, some of them older than the current emperor, their scales catching the light like pieces of living jewelry. You sit on a stone bench placed at the perfect viewing angle, and the caretaker explains the garden's principles, how it was designed to capture the essence of the 4 seasons, how different areas bloom and fade throughout the year, creating an ever-changing display of natural beauty, how the placement of each stone, each plant, each pathway was considered for its aesthetic impact, its symbolic meaning, its contribution to the overall harmony of the space.